jargon is FAPE. F-A-P-E. What on earth is this? I know when you join the autism community and people start rolling out what I call alphabet land, and they go, oh, well, you know, you're going to make sure that you're going to get FAPE. Oh, really? Why FAPE? What on earth is that, and why is it important to me? Trust me, it's huge, it's important, and it's there for you. So let's take a look at what our actual definition of FAPE is. FAPE stands for free, appropriate, public education. It is a term frequently referred to in and around IEPs. Now we've done IEP before. I told you, alphabet land. IEP stands for Individualized Education Plan or Program, depending on which state you're in. Okay, so in the United States, we have laws that are in place. Let's actually go to our working definition for FAPE. So our working definition for FAPE, free appropriate public education, is what your child is legally entitled to in the United States. So we have laws in place because a long time, not even that long ago, back in the 70s, as recently as the 70s, if you were an individual who had any kind of a challenge, it could be that you weren't able to walk upstairs, or that you were blind or deaf or had autism, or any one of 1,000 other challenges, and you needed to go to school. You were not legally entitled to everything that everyone else got. You weren't. If you couldn't comply with what everyone else was doing, you were left out in the cold, and parents were left to pay for private schooling, and it was the coldest, harshest, served up thing that anyone could imagine, because we all know the challenges that we face. And if you had to face it alone and couldn't even guarantee that your child got an education, can you imagine how horrible that was? Well, the laws were passed, and we'll share those terms for another jargon day, but laws were passed, and now our kids have, all of our kids here in the United States have a legal right to a free, appropriate public education. So you go to an IEP meeting, and the whole purpose of an IEP meeting is so that the school can give you FAPE. And at some point in the IEP meeting, usually at the end of the meeting, they will say, here is our offer of FAPE. And they will outline what they think an appropriate public education looks like for your child. And usually that's what the arguing is about, is whether or not it is appropriate. Obviously, we're not arguing about the free part, because everybody knows, or you should know, hopefully you know, that they cannot charge you anything. You pay your taxes, and that entitles you to that free public education, but it needs to be appropriate. Appropriate is the big word of the day. When you go to an IEP meeting, and you know that we always recommend that you bring a tape recorder, you need to make sure that you are arguing for what is appropriate. That is what the school will be arguing, to say, here's what we're offering, we're giving you 2 hours of speech every week, we're giving you an OT, and we think that's what is appropriate for this child. It is to your benefit as a parent to understand what the word appropriate means for your individual child. You will see that because schools have more and more IEPs that they have to do, that frequently, not always, there can be a tendency to work from sort of a template, shall we say, where there's something that they offer frequently to a lot of different kids. It is always on our side that we must argue that this is individualized, and it must be appropriate to the individual. We want to be very careful when we're in IEPs to use that language. If we run the tape recorder so that we can make sure that everybody is behaving in a way that's proper and that no mistakes are being made, we also have to be cognizant of that and not make mistakes. It is not the place in an IEP meeting to talk about what is best for your child. It is appropriate to talk about what is appropriate. But if you understand that, you can do so much, because what is appropriate for our kids is what is effective, right? So those are the terms that we want to be using. It really separates how seriously they will take you and how far you can get within the courts. If you're caught on tape saying you want what's best for your child, I guarantee you, because we've seen it time and time again, schools will pummel you with, we're not responsible for best. We're not responsible for giving you the gold standard. We're responsible for giving you what's appropriate. They can use it against you, or you can use it in your argument to get what is appropriate, which is what is effective. We can be asking them, why is what you're offering appropriate? Do you have studies to show that it's appropriate? Do you have studies to show that it is going to help my child to get to progress? Because an appropriate education is one in which we learn, so it is effective. All right, we're going to talk a little bit more about FAPE later on, and I feel like every year that we've done Autism Live, we've added another section to FAPE for you, and what is appropriate. You know, I really think it's the first thing is to know free, appropriate public education. Then last year we added the element of in the least restrictive environment. We're going to talk a little bit more about that later on today. And today we're going to add the next part of it, which is giving them a floor of opportunity to access the curriculum. This is a great other tool that we can have when we are in an IEP meeting. This is using the language of the laws to make sure that we get that appropriate public education.